Hey guys, Metal Jesus here, and today I am excited to bring you my updated game room tour. Now I have a little over 7,000 games and also over 50 different systems, and you guys have certainly noticed in my videos that as the collection has grown, I have rearranged and updated my game room, and I'm happy to show you that today. But I want to be clear, this video is not about me bragging about what I have, because there are many collectors out there that have much larger collections than I do. But what I love about game room tours is that it gives you a bit of insight into the person who collects and also what they're passionate about. And you can also pick up some tips and tricks to use in your own game room. Let's take a look. Let's start on the side of my game room that you guys typically don't get to see in my videos. And the reason for that is fairly simple. This little alcove here just doesn't have a lot of room for me to have lights. You'll notice two doors. One of them goes outside to my backyard and the other goes to the bathroom. But as the camera swings around here, you'll see a couple bookcases. I have some games on there, but I also have a tribute to some of the villains in Star Wars. And then directly below that are all of my loose N64 cartridges with custom labels. They look great, as well as some amiibos. But the remainder of this bookcase has all original Xbox games, and probably my most valuable one, which is an import called Metal Wolf Chaos. To the right of that, I have another small bookcase which holds my Sega Master System games, as well as a few more amiibos on top. But really this is designed to show some of the few Master System games that I have in my collection, at least in box. But really the pride and joy of the Master System collection has to be this Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap press kit. So amazing. Now let's swing the camera back towards this other wall here and see how that is all set up. So this IKEA bookcase here focuses really on two different systems. You'll see here that I start with the PSP, which is one of my larger console collections. I love collecting for it, as well as some highlights from my PSP collection, including the original box for Summon Night 5. I believe this is mail order only. And then directly below my PSP collection is my PlayStation 3 collection. Another system that is just a joy to collect for. So many great games. Many people have asked where I got these display signs at, and I got them from rosecoloredgaming.com. These acrylic signs are surprisingly high quality. They look fantastic. You're going to see more product from rosecoloredgaming.com in a little bit in my game room because they make all of the handheld stands that I use. Here is my JVC, which is a flat CRT television, perfect for really old consoles and when you want to play light gun games. To the left of the television is some storage where I put all of my handhelds that I'm either not displaying or maybe I just don't play very often. Mostly this is a lot of duplicates. You'll see multiple versions of the Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, also several PSPs live in here. Underneath that CRT television are a bunch of systems that are really optimized for it. In the left-hand corner, you have a DVD player. Underneath that, you have an Intellivision. You also have the Atari 7800, the ColecoVision, the PlayStation 1, the TurboGrafx 16, also the Neo Geo CD. This TV is perfect for systems that either have just the yellow composite or RF. On the left side of this IKEA unit, I have my Atari 5200, and then on the right, I store controllers, cables, adapters, as well as some random VHS cassettes that I might watch, and just other random stuff. Moving on to the computer desk, there's a bunch of stuff going on here, including my working Commodore 128, as well as the mobile Commodore 64, which is a SX64, fairly rare, and who can forget the Virtual Boy? There is a fully modded Atari 800 XL computer, as well as a mishmash of stuff, including ColecoVision cartridges, Virtual Boy games, and even some Atari Starpath Supercharger cassettes. On the left side, I have some random PC games, including the Ultima series, one of my favorites to collect for. And above that, I have my shrine to Fallout. I love the Fallout series. And of course, I do have a crusty, and I mean crusty, old Windows PC. This is an Athlon single-core processor. Works great though. Also underneath this desk are some hefty storage bins where I keep extra cables, power strips, power cords, all of that stuff. Here on the wall is the original painting my wife did of my MetalJesusRocks logo, as well as my complete copy of Earthbound, one of the rarer Super Nintendo games in my collection for sure. And that copy of Earthbound is sitting on an IKEA display case. In there I have special stuff, like the prototype N64 disk drive that was never released in the US, as well as some action figures that come with collector's editions. And then down here is kind of interesting. This is a little mishmash of random stuff. I love owning that Atari Walkman prototype. There's that one-of-a-kind Contra NES custom painted controller, and then 2 press kits from Sony, Ico and also Gran Turismo 3. And then on the lower shelf, that copy of Stone Keep. I always thought that was a cool box, as well as Wing Commander 1, and it's signed by Chris Roberts, the creator of the game. Let's take you guys back to maybe a view you're more familiar with, especially with my videos. A new thing I've added on this side of the game room are these colored LEDs. And I gotta be honest with you, most of the time when I'm down here, I'm dialing in some sort of color to my game room. It looks fantastic. Most of you have noticed that I've upgraded my couch. This is a IKEA couch. Yes, I buy a lot of IKEA because it's cheap and good. And then I thought, well, let's upgrade the pillows. So I reached out to a company called retromodding.com, and they make these really cool video game themed pillows. They're perfect. In front of that, I have an IKEA coffee table, and it works really well, and you can hide stuff underneath it, including all of my Nintendo controllers. Now, the ones I'm not using, I put in Ziploc bags to keep them relatively dust-free. So let's walk around this side of the room a bit. Behind the couch sits my awesome MAME Arcade cabinet. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that my buddy and I, Drunken Master Paul, bought this beat-up centipede machine, took it home, stripped it, and made it into this awesome emulator machine. However, in the last year, we got a completely brand new computer in here running Windows 10, and then upgraded the software to Launchbox. And I gotta tell you, this is the ultimate stand-up MAME Arcade Cab. I love it. Behind the arcade machine in the cubbyhole there is a bookcase that holds a bunch of random stuff, including 3DO games, PlayStation 4 games, Xbox 360 games, and even PSP UMDs down below. And then I put these Target storage bins kind of wherever I can fit them. This is the little odds and ends that you just don't know where else to put them, you know? They gotta go somewhere. At the bottom of this bookcase are all my Wii and Wii U games, and then above that are my PlayStation 2 games. Here are some of the more unusual or rare PlayStation 2 games that I own, although to be honest, there are so many great games on this system, and I love collecting for it. It's one of my larger collections. In this bookcase, let's start with the PlayStation 1, another system that I think is so much fun to collect for, and here are some of the more rare or maybe unusual titles in my collection. Below that, I have a few boxed N64 games sitting next to my EverDrive collection, and these are amazing. These are basically cartridges that are modified to take SD cards so you can run ROMs on real hardware. So well made, so cool. And then below that is my boxed Genesis collection. It's coming along, it's pretty decent. I've learned over time with so many different consoles and so many different power adapters that it really helps to label them so that you can keep them straight, because I don't always have them plugged in. I don't even have a way to plug them all in at once, and this really helps. Thankfully, it's pretty easy to get used IKEA furniture off of sites like Craigslist, which is exactly what I've done in almost every instance. I typically only pay about $50 per piece. Here is my Nintendo 64. Now what's cool about that is that it has the Ultra HD mod, which means it has HDMI out. Looks beautiful. And then next to it is a Sega CDX. It's a mix of the Genesis and the Sega CD all in one small package. Of course, every game room needs an Atari 2600, Super Nintendo, and then also the GameCube with the Game Boy player underneath it. Below that, we have the Sega Saturn, Dreamcast, Genesis with the power base converter, and of course, the Master System. And then tucked away below, we have the PlayStation 1, the NES top loader, and Panasonic 3DO. To the right of that is the original NES, and then we have a PlayStation 2, but that is the fat model. And then I store some random stuff I might need, like pens and markers, and in that wicker basket there are some remotes for the different televisions. And when you have cartridges, you need to clean them, and you need to repair stuff. So here are some 1-up cards, as well as other drawers filled with tools, batteries, tacks, tape, all sorts of just random stuff, power supplies for the 3DS. Here in these drawers is where I store all the loose Genesis carts. I have a lot of those, a lot of great games on that system. On the other side is where I store all the other loose cartridges, including Atari 800XL and Commodore 64. And of course, above all that is the beginning of my big box PC collection. Now, as you can imagine, collecting big box PC games is quite a challenge because there are, 30 years worth of games across so many different systems, and all of the boxes are completely different as far as size goes. I mean, there's very little standard, which makes it really cool to collect for, but also a challenge to store. And I'm showing you some of my favorites here, including Half-Life 2. This is an unusual one that comes with actually a t-shirt, but there's so much to collect. And by the way, when I say PC, I include really anything that's a personal computer. That includes Commodore 64, Amiga, Atari ST, MS-DOS, you get the picture. And it wouldn't be a proper game room without a turntable. I recently upgraded my turntable to this TIAC TN-300. Beautiful turntable, sounds fantastic. I have a little over 450 albums, but I don't keep all of those in my game room. What I do is I pick out the 30 that I'm currently listening to and bring those and set them right here so that I have easy access to them. On this side of the game room, I do have an HD television. Now, it's not the biggest in the world, but that's okay because I wasn't looking for something really big, primarily because the couch is so close to this. And honestly, it works great. I only paid $100 for it off of Craigslist, used. Here's some random artwork that I slapped on the wall, including my silver play button that I got from YouTube for having 100,000 subscribers. I reserved this shelf to kind of highlight parts of my collection that are kind of weird or interesting. It changes all the time. You'll see it change in the background of my videos every once in a while, just because I get bored with it. Underneath that television are some more consoles, including the Wii with a custom skin on it. I kind of like that skin. Next to that is the Retron 5. That is a clone system that does a bunch of different systems that I use all the time for doing game capture footage. Recently, I got the Analog NT Mini. This is like, I guess you could call it like the Ferrari of clone systems. It is really well built, really high quality. It was actually donated to me by the company that makes them. They wanted to support my channel and have better looking video. I was just like stunned that they did that because they are not cheap. I was very grateful. I love me some PS2. Here's my original Slim. I've played this a ton over the years. It's one of my favorite consoles. And then recently I picked up this PS3. This is the 60 gig version that has a PS2 built into it. Pretty awesome. I also have a Wii U, as well as an Xbox 360, of course, and then my beloved original Xbox. Love that system. Below that, I have some more storage. In here, I put all of my loose Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and Game Boy Color games in here. It's completely jumbled, but it works. On the right side, you'll notice that I put all of my Microsoft controllers as well as my Sony controllers in there. You have so many options for storage in these IKEA entertainment centers. It's a reason why I have 3 of them. All of these consoles are connected by a series of boxes and switches. Now, if you want to get into the details of how I do this, I have a dedicated video on my channel about it. All of my audio I push through this Mackie mixing board, including the turntable. The speakers I use are these KRK V6 powered studio monitors. Now, this is probably overkill, but it sounds fantastic. Moving on, let's talk about this wall o' games. Many games jammed into these 2 bookshelves. I had some room at the top here, so I put my original Xbox 360 with the E3 2005 faceplate, some Halo figures, and then here is the Gears of War 3 Vault add-on for the Xbox 360 Slim. It actually glows red. Here is the bulk of my big box PC game collection. And it's so nice to finally have room to actually get these games and be able to display them, to collect them. I mean, it's such a dream. And so I've been going after games that I used to love playing back in the day, and then also get some games that I've always been kind of curious about. Games that, you know, I maybe saw in a magazine or heard about. It's been awesome to just dive deep into it and have the room to actually do it. Also, being an ex-Sierra employee, one of my goals over the last couple of years was to really beef up my Sierra Online game collection. And thankfully, I have been able to do that, although prices are starting to rise. A lot of people have very nostalgic feelings for many of these games, and you're starting to see them not get crazy like console prices, but you're starting to see them sell for $40, $50, $100, $200, depending on whether it was really popular or maybe people want it because it's a rare RPG, things like that. And next to the PC games, we have a mishmash of a little of everything. At the top, I have some room, so I put some indie box releases up there, as well as Commodore 64 games that I got in a lot. Didn't know where else to put them, honestly. In these cubby holes, you have a bunch of stuff. NES, Super NES, box games, you name it. Now, one thing I want to mention here is that you'll notice these are fairly deep, and I probably should have mentioned this sooner, but a lot of these actually are doubled up or they have stuff behind them. You can see here that I have room for box NES games as well as a Lynx back there, and then also a Superboy S. Speaking of the Lynx, here it is with a bunch of cartridges. Nobody really talks about this system. I should probably do a buying guide on it. I do have a modest Sega CD collection thanks to I hate to say it, but a Craigslist haul that I did a couple years ago. Got lucky, got them cheap. Here is my PlayStation Vita collection. Notice it's a couple layers deep there. Yes, there are games on the Vita. And then here are the first 22 limited run games. My Sega Saturn collection is a mix of North American releases and also Japanese imports. I think if you're going to seriously collect for the Saturn, you're probably going to want to get into the imports because they got so many more than us. And then here are my Dreamcast games, and it's a pretty respectable collection. I have so many, again, you have to kind of push them in the back here. Here are some highlights from my GameCube collection. Now, I only have about 80 games for that console, but I have a lot of the heavy hitters. For my Game Boy Advance, I have about 140 games for that. Here are some of my favorites. And then recently, I've been collecting Famicom games. They're pretty cheap, and I love those colored cartridges. I mentioned Rose Colored Gaming previously. Now, they're the ones that make all of these custom stands for all of these handhelds. Each one of them is crafted to perfectly fit the particular model, and some of them actually have the labeling on the front. And what's cool is that they even have labels for some of the special editions of the handhelds, like this Yoshi one right here. They're very high quality. I absolutely love them. Highly recommended. All right, getting back to the games, here are my DS games, and as you can see, again, I have a pretty decent collection. It's nowhere near complete, but I'm getting all the ones that I want to actually own and play. For some systems, I don't mind collecting loose carts. In these drawers, you'll see a random mix of Game Gear, Neo Geo Pocket, stuff like that. You may have noticed throughout this video, sitting on surfaces are these little records. These are actually coasters, they're drink coasters. I was looking for something that was actually kind of cool and interesting, but still worked as a coaster. I love these because the labels are also custom as well, and they have little sayings on them. In the middle of the room, behind the camera where you guys typically don't see, I have a couple different storage options here. This is where I keep most of my arcade sticks for the different systems. They're fairly big, and so they need a lot of room, and this works pretty well. And then behind that, underneath my staircase, I have a bit more deep storage. This is stuff like duplicate systems, gaming magazines, of which I have hundreds of them, and also that massive Steel Battalion box. And speaking of deep storage, also in my basement, I have the rest of my record collection right there, and then all my box systems and just more random stuff, including a storage room that is a complete disaster. And it's that way because often I'm like, don't I have that particular game or system and it's buried in the back somewhere, pull things out. Yeah, I need to reorganize this thing badly. But what about modern systems? Well, upstairs in my living room, I have a PlayStation 4 Pro. I have another PS3 that I play a lot. And then, yes, I do have the Nintendo Switch. So this is my updated game room, and as you can tell, I am absolutely in love with this room. I am so lucky. So much of my personality and my passion is down here, and it's just a dream to finally have a game room like this. It's pretty cool to have my friends over, sit on the couch, play games, listen to music, and also shoot YouTube videos. Another thing I want to mention though is that many of the games and also the systems in my collection have been donated by awesome viewers like you. I really appreciate that. Your games and your systems are in a good home. Now, I realize this was a very quick tour of a lot of stuff. So if you have questions about a particular thing you saw in the video, or maybe you would like to see me focus and make a video about a specific part of my collection, love to hear about it down in the comments below. As always, guys, I want to thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for subscribing, and take care. Some of you are probably wondering where I got the music for this video. Well, I would love to tell you that it is my music, but no, I am not that good on guitar. Instead, I reach out to the professionals, and the guy that did the music for this, his name is Ethan Mixell, M-E-I-X-S-E-L-L. He's a cool mix of Steve Vai, Yngwie Malmsteen, and Joe Satriani. So definitely check him out if you like instrumental guitar rock like that. All right, guys, have a good day.